Documents case. The dark and at times bizarre Republican convention was held in Milwaukee. Trump picked honorary tech bro, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, as his running mate, and a growing number of Democratic leaders in Washington called for Joe Biden to step aside. So, yeah, this week was kind of crazy by all accounts. I mean, it's definitely unpredictable and probably felt to all of you like at times it was disorienting and even enraging. But if you cut through all of that anger and confusion, which I know there is plenty of, you may be feeling it right now, this week also provided a level of clarity. And stick with me here. Maybe even some confidence about this race. And here's why. When Donald Trump took the stage at the Republican convention, he was met with a chorus of cheers and even some tears from the MAGA faithful. And there was this expectation that Trump might be able to somehow turn this moment into a big campaign bump at a time when there is a lot of division and disagreement about the path forward on the Democratic side. But then on Thursday night, Donald Trump spoke during primetime. And his speech was a reminder that Donald Trump is still Donald Trump. He's not some generational political talent. He's the guy with scary ideas and worn out material. It felt stale. It was low energy at a lot of times. It was deeply strange and deeply disturbing at moments as well. And the exact same guy was back on the campaign trail this weekend.
They say he keeps talking about sharks and this. I don't. I tell an analogy. If I'm in a boat, it's all electric and it starts to sink. I asked the guy, do you get electrocuted sitting over this? And then I say, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this, do you? Because it's an analogy. I say, and if there's a shark about 10 yards away, right where they are, right where all the congressmen are, right over there, look at us. Well, they're sharks. They're sharks. If there's a shark about 10 yards away, do I get electrocuted or do I go with the shark? I said, because I will take electrocution all day long. But they always get on me. They say, why is he talking about electricity and sharks? What are they? Well, they know exactly. It's sort of a cute little story. Do I take electrocution or do I take death by a shark? And I'll always take electrocution.
The guy's kind of scared of sharks, it seems. I mean, like I said, Donald Trump is still just Donald Trump. So when all these MAGA Republicans talk about how unified they are, just remember what they are unified around. They're unified around the guy who rambles about sharks and electricity, who also happens to be a convict and a fraud, and someone who was found liable of sexual abuse. If that's what the party wants to unify around, I mean, I say have at it. He's far from an invincible candidate, though, and that's important to remember. Now, of course, there are some tough realities for Democrats right now, too. There have been a flurry of reports about top Democratic leaders casting doubt on President Biden's re-election chances. CNN reported this week that former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi privately told Biden in a recent conversation that polling shows he cannot defeat Trump. Now, that's not to say she called on the president to withdraw, but she was clearly blunt in her assessment. Both Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries have reportedly warned Biden in private meetings that his candidacy could hurt down-ballot races. And all told, more than 30 Democrats in Congress, including a number who are fighting for their own re-elections, have now called for Biden to step aside. And Independent Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia joined those growing calls just this morning, saying it's time for President Biden to, quote, pass the torch. Now, for their part, the campaign put their chairwoman, Jennifer O'Malley Dillon, out on Morning Joe on Friday morning, and she made clear that as of now, President Biden has every intention of staying in the race. They also have plans for President Biden to campaign next week after he recovers from COVID, which does throw into question all of these reports out there on Thursday and Friday suggesting his plans to drop out were imminent in a matter of days. Regardless of how you feel about the right path forward, and people have different feelings about it, no question, it's all just a reminder that the only person who knows what he is going to do is Joe Biden. There are also some big questions about the timeline for when a decision would need to be made, about the impact, including potential for legal fights, the approaching state ballot deadlines that are coming up in a few weeks, a potential delegate fight, and even whether or not there should be a path for candidates beyond the sitting vice president. All of that is important to discuss and understand as we wait to see what the president decides. But as I've said before, and will keep saying, while there isn't unanimity around the best path forward inside the Democratic Party right now, There is no doubt among any of those people about the need to beat Donald Trump. And if you watch Donald Trump speak this week, you can see clearly that there is nothing inevitable about him. Remember, a day is a lifetime in politics. Just think of everything that's happened this week. And Democrats still have 106 of them left. And in so many ways, Republicans are already out of runway because they've already made their bed with Donald Trump. Joining me now is Democratic Senator Gary Peters of Michigan. He is the chair of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, which means it's his job to get Democratic candidates elected. Senator Peters, I'm so grateful you're here. You're also chairman of the Homeland Security Committee. I want to talk about that, too. You wear a lot of hats, I will say. So thank you for taking the time. Yep. I do want to start with what's on the mind of a lot of Democrats and people out there, which is this growing push by Democratic leadership, including Leader Schumer, former Speaker Pelosi, Leader Jeffries, for President Biden to step aside. These are all people who love the president. This is just what they think for the campaign should happen to win the election. Senator Joe Manchin also joined them this morning. Do you agree with them?
Well, certainly we are all united in making sure that Donald Trump does not get elected to be president. That would be a disaster for this country. It would set our country back for a long, long time in the future, which is unacceptable. So we want to have clearly a strong campaign. We need to win the presidency. And as you mentioned in the opening, my job is to make sure that we hold the Senate. And, you know, through all of this confusion and craziness that you talked about in the opening, I think it's important to take a look at the polls that we're seeing for our Senate races in key battleground states. And right now, those senators continue and incumbents continue to do better than the Republican challengers. We're leading in the polls. Actually, we've seen a little increase in that as well. So those Senate candidates are doing well because these are candidate-to-candidate races. Strong senator incumbents and against very flawed Republican challengers, and people are responding to that. So I believe that if you can paint those very clear contrasts and you can run a very good campaign, particularly on the ground, something we did in an exceptional way last cycle when we made history in keeping a majority in the Senate and picking up a seat, we're seeing that same dynamic continue, even with all this uncertainty. That's something that we feel good about, but we also know that we're going to have to continue to run very, very strong, effective campaigns in the remaining days. This is not over yet. By definition, most all these states are battleground states, so they're going to be very close. So it's about getting out our votes. And it's really about making sure our base, young voters and other parts of the Democratic base, are motivated to come out to vote for our Democratic candidates in these Senate races.
Well, Senator, I'm asking you this because the report suggests that Leader Schumer presented data to President Biden and his team suggesting that keeping him on top of the ticket could result in the Senate being lost. And two of the senators who have the most vulnerable races, Senator Brown and Senator Tester, have called for him to step down. So I guess my question for you is, do you think he should still be at the top of the ticket? And are you confident with him at the top of the ticket you could hold the Senate?
Well, I certainly I see that polling data as well, and I work very closely with Senator Schumer. He cares deeply about maintaining the majority in the Senate, as I do, and there's no question that some of the polling information that we have on the presidential race is concerning. I've had the opportunity to present that to the campaign, the Biden campaign, in very clear terms as to what we're seeing. And so I do think that with this information, if we start to continue to see continued erosion in the polls, it's going to be harder for us to do going forward. And I think we've got to watch that very closely and understand that a lot is at stake here. President Biden understands how important it is for us to make sure that we defeat Donald Trump. And looking at those polls every day certainly is a reason for concern. But it just means we have to work a lot harder if things are the way they are right now.
One of the states where there is polling, there's not state polling available everywhere. One of the states there is polling is Michigan, which you, of course, know incredibly well. You are a senator from that state, yes. Which a poll this weekend showed the president behind by 7 points. Polls are a snapshot in time. I'm the first to say that. But I guess my question for you is, do you think you'd be better positioned, would Democrats be better positioned? And your answer may be no. It's up to you with someone else, like, say, President Harris at the top of the ticket versus President Biden.
Well, I think right now you have to be able to go on the offense. The way we win our Senate races is that we go on the offense. We're very aggressive, and you have to paint a very clear contrast between the two candidates. And when you do that, we win. We know the Democratic brand is strong. We're seeing that in our Senate campaigns. You have to draw that contrast. So you need to have candidates who are running lean in, go on the offense. President Biden needs to go on the offense aggressively and energize the base. You know, it's one thing to have poll numbers, but we know ultimately all that matters is who actually goes to the polls. So you have to energize people to understand that they got to get out, that their vote matters, their voice has to be heard, and you need to have a candidate that's able to do that. So certainly that is a question that everybody is asking right now. It's a very serious question, and we have to come up with that answer in the next few days or a few weeks. Time is not on our side. We've got to be working very aggressively to energize that base to win these races, which I think we can do. It's not going to be easy, but we can do it.
Now, as I started off the show saying, it's certainly the choice is up to President Biden to make this choice. We haven't had an indication he's made a choice not to be the nominee. But there are reports out this morning that the Trump campaign is preparing a major effort to attack Vice President Harris if President Biden steps aside, including a wave of attack ads. Are these, part of the job, as you well know from running tough races in the past, is to prepare for all the options. Is preparing for that possibility and talking to Senate campaigns, is that something you and others from the DSCC have been talking with candidates and campaigns about?
Well, certainly we are always anticipating what sort of attacks are going to come against our candidates, and we prepare to be able to, again, go on the offense. I'm a believer that the best defense is a good offense, and that's why you have to lean in and kind of understand what may be coming at you, and then making sure that you let voters know where you stand and the faults and the vulnerabilities that your opponent has. So if you're not thinking a move or two ahead, that's not good. This is a serious strategic decisions that people have to make, and so having play out how it's going to play out, just like you would in a game of chess, is incredibly important.
Lots always happening behind the scenes. Before I let you go, because you wear so many hats, I do want to ask you, of course, about the assassination attempt on President Trump. And given you are the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, since the attack, we have seen a number of reports, lots of reports about security breakdowns. Just yesterday, the Washington Post was first to report that after first saying they had not denied requests, the Secret Service confirmed the top officials repeatedly denied requests for additional resources and personnel requested by Trump's security detail in the 2 years leading up to the rally last weekend. There's lots that goes into these decisions, of course, and I know the director of the Secret Service is going to testify tomorrow. But based on what you know, do you think she should keep her job?
Well, we want to get all of the facts, and that's why I've launched an investigation. We're doing a bipartisan investigation through my committee to look at all of the facts to find out what happened. It's similar to what my committee did after January 6th. If you recall, we did an in-depth investigation looking at where there were gaps in security and miscommunication. We put out a whole long list of recommendations, and I believe that we are now safer at the U.S. Capitol because many of those recommendations have been adopted by law enforcement. The same thing is going to happen with our investigation regarding this. When people go to a political rally, they should believe that it's safe. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure we're protecting our candidates and the president. That's vital to our democracy. So we're going to look at all of those facts. But clearly there was a failure here, and an unacceptable failure that cannot happen again. And I think we're going to find an awful lot of things that need to be changed going forward. And also looking at resources. You've got a Secret Service that's seriously stretched for resources, and their job continues to expand. We have to take a good look at that as well.
Senator Gary Peters, the wearer of many hats, I'm so appreciative for you for joining me this afternoon. Thank you so much for taking the time. And still ahead, imagine seeing your former college roommate on stage in Milwaukee joining forces with a man he once called America's Hitler. That was the experience of current Georgia State Senator and J.D. Vance's former Yale Law College roommate, Josh McLaren, and Josh McLaren. And he's going to join me in just a few minutes. But first, Colorado Governor Jared Polis has said President Biden needs to reinvent his campaign strategy as more and more lawmakers call on him to drop out. The governor is standing by, and he joins me next. We'll be right back.
Getting older is part of the journey, even with worsening heart failure. So when I had carpal tunnel syndrome, lower back pain, and shortness of breath, I thought that's what getting older felt like. Thank goodness I called my cardiologist. I have ATTR-CM, a rare but serious disease, and getting diagnosed early made a difference. If you have any of these warning signs, don't wait. Ask your cardiologist about ATTR-CM today.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
It's time. Yes, the time has come for a fresh approach to dog food. Every day, more dog people are deciding it's time to quit the kibble and feed their dogs fresh food from the farmer's dog. Made by vets and delivered right to your door, precisely portioned for your dog's needs. It's an idea whose time has come.
If you're in pain but need to stay mobile, you need CopperFit Rapid Relief, the revolutionary line of hot and cold therapy wraps that keep you mobile while you recover, no matter where it hurts. A breakthrough adjustable design with a soft gel pack insert in a lightweight copper-infused wrap for targeted hot or cold pain-relieving therapy of sore muscles and achy joints. If it hurts, CopperFit's got you covered. Get the full line of CopperFit Rapid Relief wraps, available at Walmart pharmacies.
Life is better with the credit gods on your side. Rewards once available to the few are now accessible to the many. Credit One Bank. Get cashback rewards and live large.
At U-Haul, we know every family moves at their own pace.
Is that heavy?
That's why we have U-Box.
Take that to the kitchen for me, okay?
We can store it
Excited about the new house?
or ship it,
Who's gonna get the biggest room?
how and when you want it.
You are. That's awesome.
Reserve today at uhaul.com.
Recipes. Recipes that are more than their ingredients. Recipes written by hand and lost to time can now be analyzed and restored using the power of Dell AI, preserving memories and helping to write new ones.
Homeowners, when your water or sewer line breaks, it's expensive and often not covered by basic homeowners insurance.
You could pay thousands.
Finding a good contractor can be tough.
Want this guy doing the job?
With a plan from HomeServe, call us. We'll send a contractor, and there's no big bill.
Easy.
But don't wait. Get a plan from HomeServe before a line breaks.
Go online now.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $7.99 a month.
Call 1-833-735-4495 or visit homeserve.com.
Build the pool yourself. What could go wrong?
Some things are better left to a professional,
It dried so fast.
like when it comes to finding financial advisors. So leave it to Smart Asset to find them for you. Take the free quiz at smartasset.com. Then you'll be matched with up to 3 vetted fiduciary financial advisors. To get started, take the Advisor Match Quiz now at smartasset.com.
Terrific.
The guy is capable of being president of the United States, and he's doing a fine job at it. I think the question is he capable of running a winning campaign over the next 3.5 months? And the evidence so far is we're down against a very weak Republican candidate who's a convicted felon, whose economic policies would be devastating, who's threatening to take away our freedom. So we should be up, and we're down. And again, President Biden, the burden is on him to really show, hey, I'm the guy with the plan for the next 4 years. I can turn it around, and you don't need to hold your breath every time I talk because we got this. And he hasn't done that yet.
That was Colorado Governor Jared Polis talking about President Biden in an interview just this morning on CNN. And Governor Polis joins me now. He's the chair of the National Governors Association. Thank you so much, Governor, from the great state of Colorado. You know how much I love your state. Well, let me just start there. I know this is difficult to talk about, but I know a lot of viewers are just trying to understand where leaders like yourself are. So this morning you said that you hold your breath while President Biden talks. Help us understand how it is then that you think he is the best candidate to be at the top of the ticket to defeat Donald Trump.
Well, Jen, first of all, we wish President Biden a speedy recovery from COVID. That can be nasty and difficult at any age, and I hope he has a full recovery soon. Look, I think that's the perceptions of people, right or wrong. This is a guy, of course, that has historically had, stuttering and speech issues. That's not what we're talking about here. But I think it's just, maybe there's more focus on it, but it seems like every day the story is he said this by mistake, he misidentified this person. So I guess the question on our minds is, can he recover in a way that shows the vigor necessary for a 3.5-month sprint? Or should he focus on being the president of the United States for 6 months and pass the torch on the presidency?
And I guess that's the question I would shoot back to you. Do you think he has the vigor to be the candidate? Because there's no question. There's this strange questions about whether he can be president. He can absolutely be president. The question that's being debated among Democrats is whether he's the right person at the top of the ticket. Do you think he's the right person at the top of the ticket?
Well, look, and it's no secret we're down. You mentioned that earlier in the show. You mentioned that in a quote I had. We would lose. The Democrats would lose. Joe Biden would lose if the election was today. That's clear. So what I want to see is no different than what most Democrats want to see. How do we win? And how do we gain those 5, 6, 7 points in the polls? How do we win Michigan? How do we win the competitive states? And you need to change something. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're not going to win. So that could mean the campaign strategy, the tactics, the candidate. All of these things should and are being talked about by a party that is very serious about protecting our nation from the devastating impact of a second Trump presidency on women's rights, on freedom, on our economy with his tariff plan, Trump's tariff plan that would cost families $2,000 to $3,000 in extra taxes every year at a time when costs are a huge issue for families. So we want to win, and we want to make sure America can avoid what a second Trump presidency would cause and harm for the people of our country.
No question about it. And I could not agree with you more. Polls are snapshots in time. You can come back from them. I think a challenge that Democrats have right now is that there's a very short timeline here because of state ballot deadlines and the convention coming up. So you say things need to change, strategy, something needs to change. I mean, this may be the next week. What would you need to see in the next week that either changes or doesn't change to feel more confident either about Biden being at the top of the ticket or supporting an alternative?
Yeah, look, and absolutely we can come back, right? This is 3.5 months to the election. This is not where, Democrats and Joe Biden are not down 10, 12 points. They're down 5, 6, 7 points. And I think we need to show hope to those American people that don't like President Trump, don't like President Biden. Hey, this is a better choice with us because putting a convicted felon in the White House would not only hurt our moral integrity as a nation, but raise costs for families by thousands of dollars, hurt our national defense and our alliances with Europe, and we have an alternative. And I think that's the question here is, can President Biden project to be that alternative with a positive, optimistic vision for the next 4 years, right? It's not about what he's done as president. It's also not about what President Trump has done as president. What the people are looking for is, what are you going to do for me over the next 4 years? And we need to have a very strong answer to that question to win this election.
It sounds like for now you are very much sticking with President Biden. You are appearing at a fundraiser in Denver with him later this month. A number of Democratic donors have expressed intentions to withhold funding if he remains the nominee. Now, I'm always skeptical of anonymous sources and anonymous voices and things like that. But you talk to a lot of people. What are you hearing from donors in Colorado as you're preparing for this fundraiser later this month?
Well, I think what's important for prospective donors out there, whether they're $1 donors or $1,000 donors, is the money that you give to the campaign, the DNC, the state parties, that will be there for the Democratic nominee, whoever that is. So the money, you know, whether you want President Biden as a nominee, whether you want somebody else, we share the value of wanting to save the country from 4 years of having a convicted felon in the White House that would take away our freedoms and cost American families money with increased taxes, and absolutely supporting raising money for the party to win the White House with whoever our nominee is absolutely critical. Of course, we need a nominee who's able to take that case to the American people, who has the vigor for a 3.5-month sprint every step of the way. You know, I've run campaigns. You've talked to many people who have. I mean, this is an 18-hour-a-day ordeal, right? You're lucky to sleep a solid night. I mean, when you're doing media, you're talking, you're strategizing. I mean, it's hard to do that in addition to governing. I get that, and that's for somebody of any age. But, you know, it's important that we win, and we have 3.5 months to do it. So let's get ready for a sprint.
Lots of bad pizza and bad beer and sleeping on couches on campaigns. Governor Jared Polis, I really appreciate your time, your advocacy for so many things out there. Thank you again. And Republicans in Milwaukee weren't the only ones who were excited about Donald Trump picking J.D. Vance as his running mate. I'll explain why billionaires, the architects of Project 2025, and the Kremlin are so thrilled to have their guy on the ticket. We'll be right back.
Achy legs and painful arches? There's Copperfit Energy Socks for that. Our easy on, easy off graduated compression socks to help reduce swelling, relieve tired, achy muscles, and provide energizing support. Now with arch support technology for targeted compression to help ease arch and ankle fatigue.
These were fantastic. The more I wore them, the better it got.
If you have to wear compression socks for whatever reason, these are a game changer.
Get Copperfit Energy Socks in these fine stores.
Whether you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s and beyond, I know you're seeing changes in the skin on your body. Don't panic. It's never too late to transform yourself and your skin. And Crepe Erase is here to do just that.
Crepe Erase has been delivering smoother, firmer, younger-looking skin for almost a decade.
Did you know that Crepe Erase is America's #1 selling anti-aging body treatment system for dry, crepey skin? That's because it works, people.
The Crepe Erase two-step system is clinically shown to reduce crepey-looking skin the very first time you use it.
I just love my skin. I didn't love it before. I love it now.
And now there's big news. We're introducing the Skin Revitalizing Tool, specially designed to amplify the power of Crepe Erase.
This is the Skin Revitalizing Tool. It is new and it is free. Yes, you heard me right. It's free when you get the product.
Crepe Erase is already an incredible deal at only $49.95. But when you order today, we'll send you the Skin Revitalizing Tool, a $129 value free.
I mean, it's like having a spa in your hand.
And you'll also receive our luxurious neck repair treatment, a $49 value, free.
Since using Crepe Erase, the skin on my neck looks airbrushed. I love it.
These two incredible bonuses are valued together at $178, but they're our free gift to you.
Crepe Erase is something I recommend to my patients because it works.
Don't wait. Get all this, a $247 value for only $49.95, plus free shipping.
If you're not reveling in your younger-looking, soft and sexy skin, just return the bottles, even if they're used up and empty, and we'll give you your money back.
This is a limited time offer that will not last. Scan the QR code, call, or go to crepeerase.com and order right now.
I got this $1,000 camera for only $41 on DealDash.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56. I got this barbecue smoker for $26.
And shipping is always free.
Go to DealDash.com right now and see how much you can save.
After Homoglow cleaned our place for $19, we fired our old housekeeper. Homoglow tackled everything, from our kitchen to our bathroom, all our laundry. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19.
With Chime, I get to decide when I get paid. My pay lets me get up to $500 of my pay when I need it. There's no interest, no credit checks, no mandatory fees. And that's why I Chime. Join me at Chime.com and get paid when you say.
Our biggest challenge? Uncertainty. Hidden fees, surcharges, who knows what to expect.
Turn shipping to your advantage.
Keep it simple with clear upfront pricing.
With USPS Ground Advantage.
When life spells heartburn, how do you spell relief? ROLAIDS. Rolaids dual active formula begins to neutralize acid on contact. Rolaid spells relief.
So this week, the country was introduced to the winner of the Trump sweepstakes. What a prize. Senator J.D. Vance. He's a former never-Trumper who once wondered if Trump would be, quote, America's Hitler, his words, before publicly shape-shifting into one of the most visible and devoted members of the MAGA movement. Essentially, J.D. Vance saw 4 years of Trump, including his attempt to overthrow an election, and decided, you know what? That's my guy. It also took a little convincing, but eventually, Vance did enough sucking up to get into Trump's good graces. And that's Trump's characterization, not mine.
JD is kissing my ass. He wants my support. So, yeah, he said some bad things about me, but that was before he knew me, and then he fell in love.
Then he fell in love. Well, Vance's sucking up seems to have paid off, and Donald Trump now gets what he's always wanted as well. A true MAGA fanboy willing to give him what his last running mate refused, allegiance to him, over the Constitution, of course. And that, of course, includes a willingness to usurp power in the way that Mike Pence would not. So when a VP nominee is tapped, it's important to look, and it's always interesting, to look at the kind of people who are happiest about it. And in this case, for one, the right-wing billionaire tech bros are pretty happy right now. People like David Sachs and Peter Thiel, who have all put millions of dollars toward Vance's political career, and who, along with Elon Musk, helped lobby Trump to pick Vance as his running mate. Peter Thiel, in particular, has been a close ally and Vance investor for years. He launched Vance's career in the private sector. He then put millions in PAC money toward his Senate campaign, and he even helped broker Trump's endorsement. So make no mistake, these guys basically own him. And they're ecstatic, of course they are, that someone they basically created could be looking out for their wealth and interests and deregulation on their behalf. But you know who else is also happy with Trump's pick of Vance? The Kremlin, of course. I mean, it didn't take long before Putin's foreign minister came out publicly to praise Vance, endorsing his stance on Ukraine. And I mean, of course he did. As a reminder, this is Vance's position on the war.
It's ridiculous that we're focused on this border in Ukraine. I got to be honest with you, I don't really care what happens to Ukraine one way or another.
So, to recap here, Russia is happy, tech bro billionaires are thrilled, and so are the architects of Project 2025. It's quite a crew. As the Heritage Foundation's president Kevin Roberts told reporters, he reacted to the announcement with, quote, a broad smile on his face, saying they were really rooting for him, Vance, that is. And again, that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone either. J.D. Vance is fully behind the project's goal to purge career experts and civil servants from the federal.
Basically, that there was this entire administration in waiting. There was like this think tank or lobbying firm or some DC firm that was basically just wargaming the Biden administration. It had a lot of the people, higher level, but also mid-level people that would go in and work in the Biden administration. Like, we need to be building something like that, right? And I actually know a couple of my friends who are working on that very project, because we sort of looked at the last 5 years and we're like, you know what? Why is it that there were so few people willing to staff this administration?
So did J.D. Vance, like the long list of Republicans before him, make an about face on Trump? Yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of the story. But don't lose sight of the people and the interests that are the most excited Trump-Vance 2024 fans, because the company you keep tells you a whole lot. Josh McLaren is standing by. He was J.D. Vance's law school roommate. He's the reason we know Vance once called Trump America's Hitler, and he's coming up next.
After HomoGlow cleaned our place for $19, we fired our old housekeeper. HomeGlow tackled everything from our kitchen to our bathroom, all our laundry. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19.
To improve your digital security, just turn on NordVPN. Guard yourself from data snoopers, encrypt your online traffic, and block malicious sites. Get the deal now.
No matter what kind of teeth you gotta brush, Oral-B Electric cleans better with one simple touch. Oral-B's dentist-inspired round brush head hugs them, cleans them, and gets in between them for 100% cleaner teeth. Your perfect clean starts with Oral-B.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can scan and hack your information without you even knowing. Worse yet, it's bulky and so disorganized. But not anymore, because Slim is in. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash truly protected. And now may be your last chance to get it for a low price. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from scanning your wallet and stealing your info.
Having your information stolen is a nightmare, but with Slim Mint, I know I'm protected.
With money clips, cash can easily fall out, but with the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. Then just press the button to release the lock. Slim Mint is ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to securely fit your additional cards and your extra cash. Even with everything you see here in the Slim Mint, it's still ultra-thin. Bulky wallets are uncomfortable, but the Slim Mint is so compact it fits in any size pocket. Plus, it keeps everything easy to access.
Slim Mint holds everything, from pictures to credit cards, my driver's license. Yeah, it's still so thin.
Say bye-bye to bent cards and damaged magnetic strips. Slim Mint keeps them protected. It's crush-resistant and can really take a beating. Similar wallets sell for over $100. But call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. You still have time to get your very own Slim Mint wallets, but you must act fast. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-618-4210. That's 1-800-618-4210. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-618-4210 now.
What about Blue Chew? You like Blue Chew? Have you heard about it?
I have heard about it, yeah. I think guys who use Blue Chew are hot.
See? There you go, mate.
Get your first order free at BlueChew.com.
I think the issue that will determine who wins this election is the question of freedom. Freedom over your own body for women, freedom to read, freedom for parents of LGBTQ kids to parent them, whether you're talking about state races, local races, congressional races, or the race for president. The freedom question is actually the most important question on the ballot, really.
In choosing Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate, Donald Trump seems to have found someone who will not question his authoritarian impulses. After all, he's promised to be a dictator on day one. But remember that story I mentioned that Vance once talked about Trump as America's Hitler? Given the coverage it's received, you're probably all very familiar with what Vance said, but you might not know how we know about it. Well, Vance actually put those words in writing in a 2016 text message to my next guest, who's been sounding the alarm about the danger of a Trump-Vance ticket. Joining me now is Josh McLaurin. He's a Democratic state senator in Georgia, and he was also J.D. Vance's roommate during their time at Yale Law School. Josh, thank you so much for joining me. I know the most important question, of course, for everyone, I think, is who is J.D. Vance today? And I definitely want to talk with you about that. But you know him way back in law school. So what was he like then?
Hi, Jen. Glad to join you. You know, the reports that he was smart and personable one-on-one, they're correct. I think, you know, it's just how he's using it now that's of so much concern. At the time, he seemed really thoughtful and unwilling to toe the party line in a number of respects. You know, I've mentioned that I had a thoughtful conversation with him about the Second Amendment. He said at the time he liked Sherrod Brown, which is just sort of ironic given all the politics that he's involved in now. And so at the time in 2010 to 2011, when we roomed together, I sort of thought, this is a guy who is smart enough and could be motivated enough, has enough presence that he could remake or influence influence the direction of the Republican Party. I mean, talk about wishing on a monkey's paw, right? To see how he's using that talent now. But he was considered thoughtful. I've heard from mutual friends they couldn't believe now that he would do something like this.
Yeah, I bet it's been hard for you and all of your people who knew him long ago. Now, you put out this text message he sent, where he called Trump America's Hitler, something that I think there are people out there who relate to. But I guess the question I have is, do you think he still believes that and he's just okay with it now, or what's your assessment?
What it seems like is that, unlike a lot of Republican politicians who I think you could characterize as just empty suits, who will say whatever they need to be powerful, JD has allowed some deeper anger to motivate him here. That was something that I could sense a little bit when I knew him as a roommate. I mean, obviously, he was skeptical of the law school environment. He's written about that, but he had a very caustic sense of humor behind closed doors about some of the students and events at Yale. And that's one of the reasons we didn't get along so well, because I didn't want to make my identity, this kind of defined in opposition to the law school environment. I mean, I ran the comedy show there. I was having a pretty good time. And so what it seems like is that JD has convinced himself that this caricature of his political opponents, whether it's the left or the media, what have you, is so evil in his mind that it justifies a turn to Trump or to getting rid of some of the principles he used to have so that he can beat his opponent. I mean, you routinely have heard him over the last few years say things like, we need to destroy our opposition. I mean, at the RNC, he gave an interview where he said we need to punish Joe Biden and Kamala Harris by electing Donald Trump. So these are not aspirational statements, right? These are the statements of a guy whose anger and contempt, I think, are motivating him to be involved in politics.
And what do you think? I mean, he's obviously went through a lot as a child. I don't know if there's something more recent, but what do you think is motivating that anger and contempt? Is it just tapping into kind of the Trumpism and MAGAism of it all? Is it something else? What is motivating him to have kind of evolved in some capacity as he has?
I mean, that's hard, right? And obviously, I'm not a licensed psychiatrist. I have referenced the
None of
joke
us
that,
are.
men would
Fair.
rather run for... No, of course, but men would rather run for office than go to therapy, right? I mean, I think one of the things that's really troublesome about the new right generally, or whatever they're calling it, that JD's part of with Peter Thiel's money, is that it seems like a lot of guys who honestly just couldn't cut it within what they would call the establishment, and they're seeking alternative pathways to power. I mean, even the professor who helped launch JD Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, and some of the circles he ran in at Yale Law School, they were still powerful. They were just an alternate, pathway to the power, the influence that he wanted, that weren't like the exact, the biggest, highest profile mainstream elite circles that you would think of at Yale. And so at the end of the day, it's just kind of this competing elitism. It's not somehow a replacement of elitism or a thoughtful critique of elitism. And I think plenty of people have said that about him, that he has become a venture capitalist. He is friends with billionaires. I mean, at the end of the day, he's just offering Americans a replication of the things that he purportedly wants to criticize.
No question. I mean, you also must have known his wife, Usha, in a law school as well. And as I know, it's hard to know what people are thinking. I think no political spouse signs up for this typically, right? That's true in any political party. But I just wonder, as you were watching her speech, what you think she's thinking. I mean, do you think she believes in this? She loves her husband, of course. It's just hard to wrap my head around, I guess I'm saying.
I can't really speculate as to Usha's intentions. What I will say is that I really had a place in my heart for JD. I mean, I knew that we had a lot of differences in terms of conservative versus liberal. Obviously, we had very different childhoods, but even though we had a couple rifts here and there, even our first year, I always wanted a way to make it work. I thought that he was a thoughtful guy. I was looking for common ground. And that's a lot of why I reached out in 2016 to ask him if the Trump moment was disturbing him as much as it was disturbing me. And I got the answer I was looking for, because he was a thoughtful guy. And, like I've said, it's not just a flip-flop. I mean, he had such an incisive critique of Trump at that time, that he was the fruit of the Republican Party's collective neglect, that a demagogue would come along to exploit that failure. You know, again, that's sophisticated analysis that it still holds true. And so I found an ally in him in that respect. We had even discussed maybe writing an op-ed together in 2016, and we were looking for the right topic. Is it civility, unity? What is it? But obviously those conversations dropped off after Trump won. So as to his wife or any of the other friends who have kept up with him longer than 2016, all I have to say is I think at the end of the day, you know, it kind of doesn't matter who you are privately or what's going through your mind. If you're willing to put on this performance for the American people and activate the level of anger and contempt in the Republican base that he's willing to do, then that's what you own.
No question about it, and a very, very important point to end with. Josh McLaren, thank you so much for joining me, for putting all this out there. It's important for people to understand. We have more coming up this hour.
Cavities. I think that this product is a game changer for my patients. It really works.
Power outages can be unpredictable, inconvenient, and disruptive to your life, posing a real threat to your family's comfort and safety. When the power goes out, you have no lights, no refrigeration, no heating or air conditioning.
The winds are not letting up at all here. We're going to see some power outages. The number one thing to prepare for is extended power outages.
Are you prepared? You can be with a Generac home standby generator. When a power outage occurs, your Generac home standby generator automatically powers up using your home's existing natural gas or propane, so your life goes on without disruption. You and your family are comfortable, safe, and secure. Stay tuned to get over a $500 value free on the most popular home standby generator in the world.
With the Generac, we don't have to worry about whether we lose power or not. If the utility company does not come through, our Generac does.
Having a Generac takes a lot of the anxiety out of there's going to be a storm.
After the hurricane happened, we just want to be prepared for anything.
Generac generators are designed, engineered, and built in the USA. 8 out of 10 home generators are Generac and have thousands of satisfied customers.
How many times have you heard people say, I never want to go through that again? Well, the next time that you go through it, don't make it so hard on yourself. Have a Generac home standby generator.
Call or go online now to request your free quote with one of Generac's nationwide dealers. Special financing and low monthly payment options are available. And if you call now, you will also receive a free 5-year warranty valued at over $500. The call is free, the quote is free, and there's no obligation to buy. Call or go online now, so the next time there's a power outage, your home powers up. Power your life with Generac. Call or go online to request your free quote today.
Oh, man, I love a good hotel breakfast. Same. Yeah, so close to the stadium. I managed to get the last room for $190.
I booked the last room a week ago.
I booked yesterday. One night, $140.
What?
How?
Some sites panic you into booking their last room, but they don't have all the availability. Instead, use Trivago. Trivago compares hotel prices from hundreds of sites, so you can save up to $50 a night.
Well, at least I got the last ticket to the game.
So did I.
Hotel Trivago.
Hey folks, Chris Coonahan here with Leaf Filter, America's largest gutter and gutter protection company. Leaf Filter has over 150 locations and has been installed on over 1 million homes. We've been protecting homes now for over 20 years. Our patented technology offers total protection for your home and comes with a lifetime transferable warranty. The process is simple. Give us a call to schedule your free gutter inspection. If you decide to move forward with the project, you put nothing down at all. 833 Leaf Filter or visit leaffilter.com today.
This week, Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich was sentenced to 16 years in prison on fabricated charges of espionage. The trial was closed to the public, and prosecutors did not publicly provide any evidence to back up the charges. Evan was first imprisoned last March while reporting on a story. And this is a moment where I just want to reflect on what's happening around the world, because every year there are hundreds of journalists held against their will overseas. And my next guests are two people who not only inspired me when I was serving in government, but have prompted me to think about these cases a little bit differently, both the way we cover them and the way the U.S. government handles them. Tomorrow will mark 10 years since the Washington Post Tehran bureau chief at the time, Jason Rezaian, was arrested, along with his wife Yegi, under false spying charges. Yegi was released 3 months later, but Jason spent over a year and a half in prison under solitary confinement in Iran. And Jason and Yegi Rezaian join me now. Jason is a global opinions columnist for the Washington Post and author of Prisoner, My 544 Days in an Iranian Prison. And Yegi is a program coordinator for the Middle East and North Africa at the Committee to Protect Journalists, and still doing such important work. And I should just say from the outset, you both have become friends of mine, and I admire you both so much before we start this conversation. So, Jason, as I noted, it's been 10 years. That's so hard to believe. This was your story is something that impacted me tremendously during my time, and you spent 533 days in Evin prison. You somehow don't visibly carry the weight of that on your shoulders. I don't know how that is the case, but I just want to ask you to reflect on how that experience changed you and who you are today.
Well, thanks for having us on to talk about our own story, but the many other stories of people like Evin who are being held right now. It's changed our lives in ways that we're still figuring out 10 years later. But what I like to focus on is the fact that I think both of us have taken a really horrific experience for ourselves and for our family and tried to bring some good out of it for others. Unfortunately, this is an issue that has gotten worse and worse since Yegi and I were detained. And we're doing everything we can to just shine a spotlight on the enduring cases, but also talk to people in government and in other industries about how we might make this harder for bad guys.
Yeah, it's so important. And Yegi, I mean, very few people, we all see the stories of Evan Gerskovich, of these families who want their children home, who are being held by Hamas, and so many around the world. But very few people know how these families feel. And you know how they feel. So how do they feel? And what should people know about what you're going through as a family member in moments like this?
Thank you so much, Jen, for bringing this topic to everyone's attention, especially to American families, because what I have learned is that my American husband became a target for who he was as an American and as a journalist. It's hard. Everyone at the moment when your loved one is detained is thinking about helping him, bringing him back home, and how he's surviving those horrible prison conditions. Often families get neglected, and they are the ones that need to stay strong, both psychologically and physically, for their loved one, because when those come home is exactly when they need their family the most. The road to recovery is not just when the prison door opens and they are hopefully safe back home. The road to recovery is often longer than the prison term.
And it's not a straight line.
And nobody would like to think like that. At some point, I remember I said that to another family whose loved one was hostage, and they said, "Oh, Yegi, don't say that." And I said, "I'm sorry for bringing this to your attention, but that's really true. So you need to stay strong for when your husband, your wife, your children come home." And in some cases, I think I often see our situation as how in the worst moment you can find a little bit of light, because
keep doing what you're doing. Do whatever you need to do to bring people home as quickly and safely as possible. And on the back end of that, we have to be thinking about how to make this costlier for governments who do this.
I could talk to you all day. We have to go to a commercial. I'm going to keep talking to you, but thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your story. You inspire me and have been such a source of inspiration for me personally. We've got another full hour of live coverage coming up, so don't go anywhere.
Which looks better, this or this? Seems clear to me. If you love to save, check out the Wise Buy sales event going on right now at America's Best. Get 2 pairs of progressives for just $129.95. Offer includes a comprehensive eye exam. Book an exam online today.
Summer's burning heat is here. And for many animals, help can't come fast enough.
These animals are suffering from rays of sun that they can't escape. They don't have access to any shelter or shade. They're licking the bottom of bowls that have been dry for days. These animals are dying from heat.
For many animals across the country right now, the suffering is excruciating and time is running out.
There are animals wasting away under the hot sun, no access to shelter, no access to fresh water. They are suffering.
Will you help an animal who's suffering in the burning sun right now? Visit this website, call or scan the code on your screen. Your gift of just $19 a month can be the difference between life and death for an animal this summer.
There are situations in which an animal will lay down and they will give up because that honestly is their better escape from this reality.
And that's why we can't give up and why we need you right this minute before it's too late. 63 cents a day will provide shelter, water, and loving care to an animal who may not survive much longer. Say yes to pulling an animal out of the burning heat today. Join with your monthly gift in the next 5 minutes, and we'll send you this welcome kit and one-of-a-kind t-shirt.
We know it's our responsibility to give them that shelter as soon as possible, to get them that water, to give them that chance to survive.
So please, don't wait another second. Help rescue an animal today. Go online, call, or scan right now.
Only from SimpliSafe, 24/7 lifeguard protection. This exclusive technology allows SimpliSafe agents to help stop crime in real time.
Stop. Police are on their way.
For instant intruder deterrence and faster police response, there's no safe like SimpliSafe.
HomeAglow just cleaned my entire house for $19. Seriously, $19. They showed up right on time and did my dishes, my laundry, they even cleaned my windows. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19. I love using HomeAglow, and I think you will too.
I can feel the winds of change.
I got this $1,000 camera for only $41 on DealDash.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56.
I got this barbecue smoker for $26.
And shipping is always free.
Go to DealDash.com right now and see how much you can save.
Even before the events of this week, the campaign for president was being waged under pretty extraordinary circumstances. I mean, a current president against a former president, a felon and fraudster 78 years old, and an 81-year-old facing calls from his own party to drop out. I mean, it was all crazy enough. And then came the horrifying assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And if there is one thing that terrifying shooting in Pennsylvania left us with, it was lots of